Laura.
You knew the truth all these years? Why didn't you tell anyone?
I finally understand the truth about what you did.
Before today's chapter begins, if you haven't watched parts 1 through 5, I strongly recommend watching them first. Every letter, every confession, and every hidden clue has led to this moment. Today, the secret Laura protected for 24 years finally gets a name, and nothing will ever be the same again. Welcome back. For 24 years, Laura carried a secret she refused to tell anyone. She hid letters. She left journals. She drew maps. She sacrificed her own peace, just to make sure the truth survived. Now, Rebecca was only one step away from discovering the name Laura had protected for decades. But some people would do anything to make sure that name was never revealed. If you're enjoying this emotional mystery series, don't forget to subscribe. Every episode uncovers another piece of the truth, and today's chapter changes everything. Rebecca's hand rested on the cabin door. Andrew was standing outside. His voice sounded different, not angry, not defensive, just exhausted. "Rebecca, please, open the door." She closed her eyes. Every instinct told her not to trust him. But Laura's journal was lying open on the table. The hidden pages had revealed only half the truth. The other half still belonged to Andrew. Rebecca slowly unlocked the door. Andrew stepped inside alone. The 4 men who had arrived with him remained outside. Victor immediately stood between them. "I hope you came alone." Andrew nodded. "I did. I'm tired of lies." Victor looked unconvinced. "So am I." Rebecca looked directly at her husband. "You said you knew who destroyed both families." Andrew slowly reached into his coat. Rebecca froze. But instead of pulling out a weapon, he removed another envelope. It looked old. The paper had turned yellow with age. Laura's handwriting covered the front. Rebecca whispered, "Another letter." Andrew nodded. "Laura gave this to me 24 years ago. I was told never to open it, unless everything else failed." Rebecca couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You've had this all these years?" Andrew lowered his head. "Yes, and I was too afraid to read it." Victor stepped closer. "You never told me this existed." Andrew looked at him. "Because Laura made me promise. If I broke that promise, she said innocent people could get hurt." Rebecca slowly accepted the envelope. Across the front, only 6 words were written. "The last truth has a name." A chill ran through the room. Rebecca carefully opened the envelope. Inside, there was 1 letter, 1 photograph, and 1 small brass key. She picked up the photograph first. It showed 5 people standing together. Her father, Andrew's father, Victor, Daniel Cross, and a woman Rebecca had never seen before. She turned the picture over. Laura had written, "She knows the real name." Rebecca frowned. "Who is she?" Andrew quietly answered, "I don't know. I've been trying to find her for years." Rebecca unfolded Laura's final letter. The first sentence made everyone in the cabin fall silent. "Rebecca, if you've reached this page, then you've already learned who lied. Now it's time to learn who planned everything." Rebecca's heartbeat quickened. She continued reading. "The person responsible never signed a document, never attended a meeting, never appeared in any company records." Victor whispered, "Impossible." Laura's next sentence changed everything. His name was never written because everyone knew him by a different one. Rebecca slowly turned the page. There, written in bold handwriting, were 3 words. Project Black Oak. No person's name, just those words. Andrew looked confused. "I've never heard of it." Victor's face suddenly turned pale. Rebecca noticed immediately. "You have." Victor couldn't hide his expression anymore. He slowly sat down. His hands began shaking. Rebecca stared at him. "You know exactly what Black Oak is." Victor looked up and quietly whispered, "I prayed Laura would never tell you." The room fell completely silent. Rebecca took 1 slow step toward him. "What is Project Black Oak?" Victor closed his eyes. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then he finally said, "It's not a person. It's an agreement. One that destroyed every family connected to it." Rebecca felt the room spin around her. If Black Oak wasn't a person, then who had Laura been protecting for 24 years? And why was Victor so terrified to even say its name? Victor's words echoed through the cabin. Project Black Oak wasn't a person. It was an agreement. The room fell silent. Rebecca stared at him. "An agreement between who?" Victor slowly removed his glasses. His hands were shaking. Between powerful people who wanted one thing. Control, Andrew frowned. Control of what? Victor looked directly at him. Everything your father spent their lives building. Rebecca couldn't believe it. So my father, and your father. They were trapped inside this, Victor nodded. They thought they were signing a business partnership. But Black Oak was never about business. It was about loyalty, Rebecca whispered. Loyalty to whom? Victor hesitated. For years, no one knew. Andrew stepped closer. Then who created Black Oak? Victor slowly pointed toward Laura's letter. The answer isn't in the letter. It's inside the journal. Rebecca quickly opened Laura's journal again. The hidden pages were still visible. She carefully turned another page. A folded piece of paper slipped onto the table. She unfolded it. At the top, Laura had written, "Only read this after learning about Black Oak." Rebecca took a deep breath. Then she began reading. Rebecca, if you've reached this page, you're finally standing where I once stood. Confused, angry, unsure who deserves your trust. Rebecca felt tears forming. Laura understood exactly how she felt. She continued. The people inside Black Oak weren't born criminals. Most of them believed they were protecting their families. Victor quietly nodded. That's true, but someone abused that loyalty. Rebecca reached the next paragraph. Her breathing slowed. There was always one voice giving the orders. No contracts, no signatures, only phone calls and private meetings. Andrew looked puzzled. So no one even knew who they worked for, Victor answered softly. Exactly. Suddenly, Rebecca noticed something tucked inside the page, a tiny cassette tape. Old, dusty. She looked at Victor. What is this? Victor's eyes widened. I haven't seen one of those in years. Andrew carefully picked it up. It still has a label. Rebecca leaned closer. Written in Laura's handwriting were 4 words. Meeting October 14. Victor took one step backward. No, it still exists. Rebecca looked at him. You knew about this recording? He nodded. I thought Laura destroyed it. Andrew frowned. What's on it? Victor answered without looking at either of them. The only conversation that could expose Black Oak forever. Rebecca searched the cabin. Near the fireplace, she found an old cassette player covered in dust. She carefully inserted the tape. Everyone held their breath. The machine clicked. Static filled the room. Then, a man's voice. Deep, calm, confident. If anyone refuses the agreement, remove them from the project. Rebecca looked at Andrew. Neither of them recognized the voice. Another voice answered. What about their families? The first man replied without emotion. Families create witnesses. Silence filled the cabin. Rebecca slowly pressed pause. Her hands were trembling. This wasn't just business. Victor quietly shook his head. No. It became fear. Before anyone could speak again, the tape suddenly started playing by itself. No one had touched it. A final sentence echoed through the room. The only copy is hidden beneath St. Matthew's Church. The tape stopped. Complete silence. Andrew stared at the recorder. Did you hear that? Rebecca nodded. St. Matthew's Church. Victor closed his eyes. Oh no. Rebecca turned toward him. You know that place, Victor whispered. It's where Black Oak began. At that exact moment, a loud crash came from outside the cabin. Smash! The front window shattered. Glass exploded across the floor. Rebecca instinctively stepped back. Someone outside shouted, Get the journal! Another voice yelled. Don't let them leave alive. Andrew immediately pulled Rebecca behind the wooden table. Victor looked toward the back door. We have to move. Rebecca grabbed Laura's journal, the cassette tape, and the old brass key. She looked back at the broken window. Dark figures were already running toward the cabin. This wasn't about secrets anymore. Someone was desperate to erase the truth forever. The sound of breaking glass echoed through the cabin. For one terrifying second, no one moved. Then another window shattered. Crash! Cold air rushed inside. Rebecca instinctively held Laura's journal against her chest. Andrew stepped in front of her. Stay behind me. She looked at him in disbelief. After everything. You're still trying to protect me? Andrew didn't turn around. I should have done it years ago. Victor pointed toward the back of the cabin. There's another exit. We still have time. But before anyone could move, a voice came from outside. Calm, confident, almost amused. Rebecca Lawson? You've been looking for answers. You should have stopped after Laura's first letter. Rebecca froze. She recognized that tone. It was the same voice from the old cassette recording. 24 years had passed, yet it sounded almost identical. Victor whispered, Oh no, he's here. The cabin door slowly opened. An elderly man walked inside. He looked to be in his early 70s, perfectly dressed, calm expression, a polished wooden cane in one hand. He smiled politely. "You've all caused me a great deal of trouble." Rebecca stared at him. "Who are you?" The man looked at Laura's journal, then at the cassette tape. Finally, he smiled. "My name doesn't matter." Rebecca took one step forward. "It matters to me." The man nodded slowly. "Very well. My name is Charles Whitmore." The room became silent. Victor lowered his head. Andrew's face turned pale. Rebecca immediately understood. This is the man Laura was protecting everyone from. Victor answered quietly. "No. This is the man everyone worked for, without even realizing it." Charles looked around the cabin. "I've spent 24 years cleaning up mistakes. Laura was the only one who refused to forget." Rebecca held up the journal. "She wrote everything down." Charles smiled. "I know. That's why I came." His eyes locked onto the journal. "Hand it over." Rebecca tightened her grip. "No," Charles sighed. "I was hoping you'd say yes." Andrew suddenly stepped forward. "If you want the journal, you'll have to go through me." Charles looked at him almost sympathetically. "You sound just like your father." Andrew clenched his fists. "My father trusted you, and you destroyed his life." Charles shook his head. "I offered him success. He chose guilt." Rebecca couldn't stay silent anymore. "Why? Why destroy so many families?" Charles slowly walked toward the fireplace. He looked into the fading flames. "Because power isn't given. It's collected. Every family that joined Black Oak became another piece of something much larger." Rebecca frowned. "What exactly is Black Oak?" Charles smiled. "It was never a company. It was never a business. It was a network. A network of people who believed loyalty was more valuable than truth." Victor stepped forward. "And anyone who questioned it." Charles calmly finished his sentence. "Walked away with nothing." Rebecca looked at Charles. "You ruined lives." Charles looked directly into her eyes. "No. They ruined themselves. I simply gave them a choice." Andrew pulled the final letter from his pocket. "Laura knew exactly who you were." Charles nodded. "She did." Andrew unfolded the last page. There, in Laura's handwriting, was one final sentence. "If Charles Whitmore is standing in front of you, don't waste time arguing. The truth isn't in his words. It's hidden where Black Oak first began." Rebecca immediately remembered. St. Matthew's Church. Charles's calm expression disappeared for the first time. He looked at Rebecca. "So, you've heard the recording." Rebecca nodded. Every word, without warning. Charles reached into his coat. Rebecca's heart raced. Instead of taking out anything dangerous, he placed a small silver key on the table. Everyone stared at it. Charles spoke quietly. "You'll need this." Rebecca frowned. "What is it?" He smiled. "The key to the church archive." Andrew looked confused. "Why would you help us?" Charles slowly walked toward the door. "Because the truth you think you're searching for isn't the truth waiting for you." He stopped. Without turning around, he added one last sentence. "Ask yourselves one question. Why did Laura wait 24 years? The cabin fell silent. Charles walked outside. A black car was waiting. Within seconds, it disappeared down the empty road. Rebecca looked at the silver key, then at Laura's journal, then at Andrew. "I don't understand." Andrew quietly answered, "Neither do I." Victor slowly picked up the cassette tape. There was always one place Laura refused to discuss. Rebecca looked at him. "The church." Victor nodded. "Whatever she hid there. She believed no one would ever find it." Rebecca closed the journal. Her decision was made. "Tomorrow morning, we're going to St. Matthew's Church." As she slipped the silver key into her pocket, she noticed something engraved on it, 3 tiny letters. LW, not Laura Whitmore, not Laura Williams, just LW. Rebecca looked at Andrew. "Laura never told us her maiden name." Andrew slowly shook his head. "No, and maybe that's the biggest secret of all."